On today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, apparently Shang-Chi 2 is going to start shooting in 2025, and Iron Fist is going to be a part of it. Also, Coyote versus Acme, the movie might not be as dead as it appears, at least according to the writer right now. Also, Barbie director Greta Gerwig, she is actually going to do that Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch of the Wardrobe movie, and apparently they've already started pre-production on it. And the Oscars, that was the best Oscars in maybe a decade. Well, anyway, the viewership was the highest it's been in over 4 years, with 3 years of growth in a row. And Christopher Nolan's paycheck for doing Oppenheimer just got revealed. It's like almost $100 million. We're going to talk about that and a whole bunch more. The John Campea Show podcast starts right now. Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming to you from right here in our quaint little studio. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, TV and streaming, and all sorts of good stuff. Not just giving you our opinions, but also giving you some background and context so you guys can form your own well-informed opinions, whether they're the same or completely different than ours. Joining me in studio today, I got Ray Ora.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Got Jonathan Voico.
You got me.
Chris Carr is here.
Hello, everybody.
And most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here, making our little show a part of your day. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by talking about those topics I listed off. And then in the last part of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. If you've got a thought, comment, question, opinion, observation that you'd like us to address, go ahead and use the super chat feature in the live chat, and we will address those as long as they're appropriate to be read on our show at the last part of the show. All right, guys. That down, let's start off with this, shall we? Look, the MCU has been, it's struggled a little bit lately. It's had its ups and downs, a few more downs than ups, but a couple of the big highlights since, Endgame have been things like WandaVision, Spider-Man No Way Home, Ms. Marvel. But one of my favorite things that they've done was Shang-Chi. This character that most people had never heard of. It came out. I wasn't sure about Awkwafina being in it, although I really liked her. What was that one movie she did where they were saying goodbye to her dying grandmother? The Last Goodbye or Farewell?
The Farewell.
Farewell. I thought, wow, like she showed me something that I'd never seen. Anyway, then I went to go see her in Shang-Chi. Loved the film. Like I was positively electric when I came out of the premiere. I was like shaking. I just couldn't believe how much fun I've had with it. I've watched it at least 20 times. Love this film. But the question has been, where's the sequel? When's this thing coming? Well, apparently now, according to a report that came out this morning, there is rumor going around that they're going to start shooting this in 2025 and that it's going to have the immortal Iron Fist in it.
Yeah.
This comes to us from CBR, who writes, some major story details, from Shang-Chi 2 have just been shared, teasing an action-packed sequel that will be officially connected to Marvel Studios' overarching multiverse saga storyline. That's too bad. Anyway, according to trusted insider Daniel Reichman via X, Shang-Chi 2 will begin filming in 2025 with Destin Daniel Cretton, who of course directed the first one, returning as writer and director. While light on plot details, Richmond did state that the sequel would feature time travel and Iron Fist. However, fans should not expect to see Finn Jones back as the superhero, as the insider added that the Iron Fist that appears will be the same one that will debut in the upcoming Eyes of Wakanda animated series. While Eyes of Wakanda Iron Fist might be Finn Jones' Danny Rand, until the identity of the superhero is revealed, fans shouldn't take this as a confirmation that the Netflix/Marvel era character is officially back in the MCU. All right, my voice is going for some reason, I don't know why.
Oh, no.
Let's
Puberty's
touch
a
on
real
this.
bitch.
Yeah.
Man.
So let's touch on this for a second. All right. First of all, I'm thrilled, even though this is not confirmed, I'm thrilled to at least hear some word on some movement at last. Because this is a movie that, when did it come out? 2021?
I think so.
Yeah, check out the release.
Check.
It's been a couple of years at least. This just came out,
It was
and it was
Mm-hmm.
fantastic. It's an exceptional 2021. It's been an exceptional movie. And I figured they would want to take advantage of some of that momentum, getting this one of the few new characters that actually landed it. and they would get moving on it. So I'm thrilled to hear about this. Obviously, we knew that Destin would be coming back to direct. That is great. Simu Liu obviously will be back. We just saw him at the Oscars in the I'm Just Ken number, which
So
was really cool
good.
to see. I'm not thrilled about a couple of things, though.
Uh-oh.
Go on.
That they are tying it into the multiverse saga.
Okay.
And
I feel like they don't have a choice, though, right? I mean, that's where they're in.
Guardians 3 didn't really tie into the multiverse saga, and it did just fine. I mean, I don't know. Like, look, I still remember at that Comic-Con a couple of years ago, not Comic-Con, I'm sorry, CinemaCon a few years ago, when Kevin Feige got on stage and said, "We are now entering into the multiverse saga." And I went, my best Dave Chappelle, oh no, this is not going to be good. And sure enough, and look, it's had its upsides, it absolutely has, but it's been rough compared to the previous phases that they've had in the MCU. I'm also not a big fan of time travel in movies. And them saying this is going to involve time travel. I'm like, oh, all right. It's like saying, John, you want some delicious ice cream? Yes. Now it's going to have ketchup on it. Oh. That's how I kind of feel about this. Now look, like every time time travel comes up, I am quick to point out that there are exceptions to my hatred of time travel in movies, right? There have been some great examples. Obviously, Back to the Future. Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, is a great time travel movie. There are definitely exceptions. I just find the two things, multiverse and time travel, to be the ultimate lazy man's excuse for writing. It's the ultimate lazy cop-out. Because there's no problem in any movie in history that couldn't be solved with time travel. And so to me, it's a complete lazy thing to do. And now they're mentioning multiverse and time travel in this. So that worries me a little bit. But you know what? I'm going to take a deep breath, focus my zen, and say Destin is still directing this thing, and I trust him. So I'm going to believe that this will be the next Star Trek IV Voyage Home or the next, Back to the Future. So I'll hope for that. I can't see them bringing back the Netflix Danny Rand.
I don't think Finn Jones is going to be here.
I can't see them bringing him back. Like, I know they're now saying that, because remember, up until recently, the Netflix stuff was not going to be canon to the MCU. It was going to be a totally different thing. Then recently, they changed their minds. They are making it canon, and it's the whole thing. But even though it's canon now, look, the reality is that Iron Fist, through no fault of Finn Jones or stuff like that,
Through all the fault of that showrunner.
nobody that showrunner. Oh my God, nobody liked that show. I mean, that's hyperbole, but I've never personally spoken to anybody that said, what was really good? That Iron Fist show. I don't know anybody that enjoyed it. So, you're right. Did you like it?
No.
It's like, well, I mean, so I'm thinking if it's involving time travel and multidimensional stuff, maybe it's a Iron Fist from a previous time or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to choose to overall be happy about this news. Chris, you hear about this. What stands out to you?
I love that we're getting this team up eventually. I think that's great. And if you want to read a comic that will kind of give you some idea of maybe what's going on, there is a Shang-Chi wonderful, wonderful team up called Shang-Chi, Earth's Mightiest Martial Artist, where he teams up with not only Iron Fist, but Wolverine as well. So there's some cool things there. I'm really excited about Eyes of Wakanda. I know that's kind of just dropped in here, but I want to just make that note of, ooh, yes, I want cartoons that actually tie into the series, not just What If, like what we see James Gunn is talking about doing over at DC.
With Creature Commandos and others.
I love that. I love that consistency. I love that congruency, and I want more of that in this universe. I want everything to tie into each other, unless it specifically says it's not, right? Elseworlds, What If, those are fun things where you can do all your fun experimental stuff, and then we can have everything else kind of move and groove together. I'm with you on I don't think Finn Jones is coming back here. Look, Finn Jones, I honestly am an apologist for him and that series because I really do believe he just got the short end of the stick.
Oh, I agree.
And I think people are very, very quick to blame him for how that series went. And I always come back to the showrunner. I always come back to how limited the time was to get fight choreography done safely and done well. Everything was stacked against this guy. And it's a real shame because if you watched Game of Thrones, he was fabulous on that series. I'm not familiar with more of his work, but that I was just blown away by what he did on that show. I thought he was really, really wonderful. And this was a big letdown. I would love for him to get a redemption moment. I think it'd be great if they did bring him back, but I do think there's just too much bad blood and ill will towards him as this character. And that show just has a little bit of an unpleasant odor around it. You know, people aren't in love with that one, aside from, you know, getting potential daughters of the dragons. That's the only thing people were kind of on
Wing.
board with.
Everybody wants Wing.
Yeah.
But
Colleen Wing is a badass. Misty Knight, badass. Those women were so well cast.
Also, I'm not going to lie, but when his fist, the first scene where it starts glowing, I got some goosebumps. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah,
I thought it was a
There's
really cool
moments.
scene.
you think business is about to pick up, and
Yeah.
but listen, it's like a lot of people, a lot of fans. I don't know why. Maybe if you sat down and asked them, they intellectually know, but there's an emotional disconnect. Actors don't write the lines they're saying. It's Finn Jones. It's not his fault that it had a trash story and trash execution, and it wasn't the actor's fault. The actor can just stand in and do it. Now,
The script already has the job. We have to just try to be of service to the script afterwards.
yeah. Now, did Finn Jones deserve an Emmy for what? No, I'm not saying he did, but I'm just saying it wasn't Finn. There's a lot of blame to go around, but it wasn't Finn Jones's fault. But I just don't see them bringing back for that at all.
If there was an Emmy for hair, definitely.
Yeah, best hair.
That guy had
Good
some
hair.
nice locks, man.
He does. Those curls, they're popping.
All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? The Coyote versus Acme saga has been a really interesting one. It's the fake outrage of movie fans is never on display more than when they pretend to be all upset about a movie they never cared about before it got canceled. Coyote versus Acme was a movie that I was interested in, but literally in 2 years or 3 years, I don't think a single question on this show was ever sent in about Coyote versus Acme.
No.
Not once. Not once. Now, and certainly nobody was talking about the movie at all. But then when Warner Brothers announced that, hey, we don't think this is going to work for us, we're going to cancel the movie, all of a sudden everybody's like, I was dying to see that. Sure you were. And it's like, well, I mean, it's foolish. So then what happened? Warner Brothers said, like, we don't believe this is going to make us any money. We believe this is going to lose us money. It's going to be better for us financially just to shelve it and take the tax write down on it. Well, then they said, well, other people wouldn't have think. Okay, Warner Brothers said, we'll put it up for sale. We'll put it up for sale. Crickets. Nobody wants it. And all Warner Brothers is asking for was the production cost. $70 million. Not by Hollywood standards, not an expensive movie. And they're not asking for a profit. They're just, you know what? Just give us what we paid for it and we'll be good. Nobody stepped up. Nobody else believes in this film. Even though guys like Lord and Miller have seen it and said, this is really good. You know, the actors involved with it, including John Cena and others, have said, like, we're really proud of this movie. This is really good. But nobody's willing to put up the money for it. And it's $70 million. I mean, Lord and Miller themselves, like I love Lord and Miller, so this is just friendly. But I mean, hey guys, if you really believe in it, why don't you put up the $70 million and buy it and release it yourselves? Oh, you don't believe in it that much. Well, hope may not be lost quite yet. Because according to the writer, there are still some parties interested and discussions are ongoing. This comes to us from IndieWire that writes the following. After Warner Brothers Discovery seemingly dropped the final anvil, I like that, on the head of Coyote versus Acme, screenwriter Sammy Birch is speaking out about the Shell film. Birch told IndieWire's Vincent Perella on the red carpet for the 2024 Oscars that the conversation is in fact ongoing about whether or not the film will see the light of day. As far as I know, it's ongoing, Birch said. I think we'll all be pretty heartbroken about it. We hope it will somehow find its home and not end up stuck in a vault for the rest of time. That would be a great resolution. So, listen, I am as curious to see this as anybody. Like I've been interested in this film ever since they announced it years and years and years ago. The premise is really fun. I love hearing like people like Lord and Miller coming, people who don't have any skin in the game. Because it's one thing for an actor who's in the movie to say, I want my movie to come out. Well, of course you do. But Lord and Miller have no skin in this game. And they saw it and they're like, this is really good. And that got me interested a little bit more. But at the same time, as Robert Meyer Burnett would say, it's not called show friends, it's show business. And they make these products to make money. And if it's not going to make money, and you can think, well, if we do this with our product, we'll get more money than if we do that with our product, then you do that. And I get it. And listen, I was hopeful that another studio would step. There were some whispers that Amazon was going to step up and buy it. And then apparently Amazon was interested, but they lowballed it. They offered like $30 million for it, which isn't even equal to the tax write-down they would get on it. So I don't know. Look, all other things being equal, in a perfect world, I would love for a Netflix or a Peacock or something, or a Universal or Paramount to come along and say, we think we can make a little bit of scratch if we put $70 million into this, $25 million into marketing. We would need probably about 250 to break even. We think we can get 250 million with it. Madam Web couldn't, but we can get 250 million with it. I hope that happens, but I mean, I don't know. I think this is one of those things where everybody says they want to see it, but no one is actually going to buy tickets. Anyway, Chris, the writer is saying there are still some talks ongoing, which means there is still hope. What do you think the chances are right now?
I think there is a chance this gets picked up because of the momentum it's gotten online. I mean, the proof will be in the pudding if it gets picked up and people actually go out to see it. I am one of those people who does want to see this. When we first talked about how this was being produced and it's based on that New Yorker article, I was really excited about this. I think it's such a charming idea. And much like how I want Wile E. Coyote to get his day in court, I want this movie to have its day in theaters. To see John Cena playing a corrupt Acme lawyer? Who does not want to see this? To have Will Forte just be his Wile E. Coyote's attorney? I think this is going to be super, super fun. This has also got a stacked cast. Lana back here has a huge, huge following because of All the Boys I've Ever Loved on Netflix. She has a really, really big, wide net she can cast and get people into theaters too, along with Will Forte, along with Lord and Miller pushing this, along with John Cena. Come on. I think there is a lot of potential here, and I'm not sure why people aren't jumping on it if it is this great. I feel like this is a pretty ultimately low risk cost, but it is just coming at a very unfortunate time where because we had the strike, because now IATSE is possibly going to go on another big strike, studios have to be really mindful about how they spend their money. You know, we are still feeling the effects of it. We're having an incredibly small pilot season. A lot less films are being greenlit. People are being very, very choosy with what they're going to go forward with. And so I think that's the most unfortunate thing here is that you do have something that seems like it could be great quality, could have high return value on it. But do you make that initial investment in light of all the other monetary issues your studio could be having right now?
Here's the other thing they got to be worried about. At $70 million, and again, I can already hear some people saying, well, if you thought that was too much, you could make money on it. Why did you greenlight it? Remember, this was a movie that was greenlit under the previous owners of Warner Brothers. This was greenlit under AT&T is who greenlit this. But if, let's say, I'm just going to pull a name out. Let's say Paramount decided to go, okay, you know what? We'll pay the $70 million. And like I said, even do a very modest marketing campaign. $25 million. All right. Very, very modest. So now you're sitting at around $100 million, right? When you figure theatrical cut, you know, you're probably going to need 150, 175 million to break even. Scream 6, which a lot of people liked. Anybody want to guess how much money that made? Worldwide?
140.
Close, 168 million.
Just
Godzilla minus one. That everybody's raving about.
Academy Award winning.
Academy Award winning. Godzilla minus one.
I love that movie.
One time. Academy Award winner. One time. You know how much money that made?
120.
I think around 120 or less. I think maybe you can get the exact number.
Okay.
But it was just approaching. So like these are talked about, popular, have solid following movies. And their box office results would not equal profitability.
Wow.
How much you Godzilla minus one? 106 million. So is there an argument to be made that Coyote versus Acme would come out and make 50% more than Godzilla minus one would? I don't know. I don't know. It is a risk. You're talking about putting up, this is real money. I mean, putting up $100 million.
Yeah. There's one man in Hollywood who could.
Who's that?
Christopher Nolan. We talked about this before the show.
Oh, yeah, we will get to that in a little bit. Christopher Nolan today, easy. He could snatch that thing up and do it.
Pay for Wile E. Coyote, you coward.
You coward. All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think? I mean, according to the writer, there are still some negotiations ongoing. That means there is potentially hope that this thing could at some point see the light of day. Do you even care? Do you have hope for it too? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and leave us your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Greta Gerwig is a multiple Oscar-nominated filmmaker, both as a screenwriter and a director. She's incredible. And of course, she made the #1 film of the year in 2023 with Barbie. That, you know, made a big splash at the Oscars, all that kind of stuff with the I'm Just Ken performance. It was a cultural phenomenon, the film. And, you know, she's just a very hot filmmaker right now. People keep their eyes on her, both as a writer and as a director. Well, a number of months ago, word came out that she was looking at her next project potentially being The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe from the Chronicles of Narnia series, of course, written by one of my favorite all-time writers, C.S. Lewis. I'm not so much of a huge C.S. Lewis fan as a novelist as I am as a theologian. I read a lot of C.S. Lewis in my formative years. Mere Christianity was a really formative book for me, you know, stuff like that. He's incredible. But I remember saying at the time, I don't know that I believe, number one, I don't think it's a smart move to try to do yet another Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And especially since it's a straight to streaming movie. And I don't really, is that what Greta wants to do coming off a big Academy kind of year? And I said, I don't actually think this is going to happen. I mean, all the reports said it was happening. I just said, you know what? I just got a feeling this isn't going to happen. Well, I was wrong because it is currently happening right now. This comes from the folks over at Deadline who write the following. Speaking with Deadline after the Academy Awards ceremony, Greta Gerwig revealed that she has already begun pre-production on her new Narnia adaptation. The director said that she is set to return to London at some point soon to continue working on the new project, which will be released on Netflix. Gerwig's film will adapt the first book of the Narnia series, The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and she's also signed on to make another film based on the second novel in the C.S. Lewis created world. So it's happening. She's doing it. I still don't like it. I mean, first of all, I don't know why. Why do another Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe? Like, why do it again? And I don't like it for Greta Gerwig. Like, you right now can write your own ticket. Greta Gerwig's in a position right now. I mean, she's not in Christopher Nolan's position, but she's in a position right now where she probably has more power and leverage in the business today than she's ever had in her career. That she can chart her own course and write her own ticket right now. And there's not a studio in Hollywood right now that would turn down a pitch from her. So why do a garbage straight to Netflix dump for a property that we've already seen done several times? And don't get me wrong, I'm not an anti-Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe guy. I'm a big C.S. Lewis guy. I love Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. You know, I hate religious-themed movies. I really do. I developed my hatred of religious-themed movies as a Bible college student. That's where I developed my hatred of religious movies. But Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is one of those heavily Christian-themed movies that I'm actually pretty good with. I really like that story, but Chris, help me make sense of this. Why would Greta want to do, at the height of her power right now, a straight-to-streaming dump film on a property that's already been done several times? And I, quite frankly, don't hear a lot of people saying, you know what we really need right now?
A dump film.
A dump film. Another Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
In certain corners of the internet, yes. They really want one of those.
We need right now. Another iteration of Lion, the Witch.
about to make
big
one
old
right now.
Cleveland steamer of a movie.
So help me make sense of this.
I mean, I can't, because in the past, first of all, the last Chronicles of Narnia movie was in 2005. So it's been almost 20 years since we had that film.
That is longer than that made me
We've
feel
had
old.
3 Spider-Men during that time.
Well, that's true, yes.
So I feel like if we're going to talk about timeline, sure, the time could be now to make this. She did start this script prior to Barbie.
That's right, she did. Yeah.
And what she's talked about too, this is also from CBR, when talking about why she wanted to do this, she said that Narnia is connected to the folklore and fairy stories of England, but it's a combination of different traditions. As a child, you accept the whole thing, that you're in this land of Narnia, there's fawns, and then Father Christmas shows up. It doesn't even occur to you that it's not schematic. I'm interested in embracing the paradox of the world that Lewis created, because that's what's so compelling about them. So she's got a take on it. Right? She has her own perspective on it. And I'm interested to see how she does this because, yeah, to your point, I don't see C.S. Lewis as a big influence in Greta Gerwig's work because I do always think, okay, it's very, very, in my personal opinion, heavy-handed Christian allegory, which is fine. And they're great
It's
stories.
barely even allegory.
Yeah.
It's like, it's pretty, it's the Jesus
this lion. Is
It's
Jesus.
the
All
Jesus
right?
cat.
It basically is, what if Jesus was a lion?
Yep.
So
I don't know. I mean, this is lion-esque.
that is.
Yeah.
That's
So maybe
very
that's-
true. This was...
That's our new Aslan right there. Ryan
Yep.
Gosling is
There you go.
Aslan.
That makes a lot of sense too, especially since male lions just stay home and the women go out and hunt. That makes sense for Barbie world. I can see it.
He's a 10 lion.
Yeah. But I am very interested in how she approaches film and filmmaking, especially as a writer, not just as a director, but her own storytelling. And especially because so many of her stories that we have seen, you know, Lady Bird, Little Women, now Barbie, have had a very female-centered perspective and how women operate within the world and within society. I'm interested to see how that kind of plays in Narnia, which it's much more about that world and its building and the lore of all of that. So I'm interested to see what she'll explain. And also, just for those of you in the chat, I'm not shitting on Christianity by pointing out that this movie is these books are allegorically tied to Christianity. They are. That's just a fact.
Yeah.
That's a weird take. But I am interested to see how she explores that and what she brings to the table.
Yeah. Look, anybody who wants to come into my chat and say I'm shitting on Christianity, child, I would bury you in any kind of a biblical trivia contest. I know my Bible way better than you ever will. So it's just a thing that I think the story is great. I love Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe. I don't know that it makes for a great movie, just in and of itself. And I just don't understand why Greta, at this point in her career, with all the power and momentum that she's got right now and influence and pull, why she would want to do a straight to Netflix streaming dump and do this one. I would love to see her do something else. I really, really would. But anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you make of this? Maybe you're really excited for it. I don't personally get it. But listen, if anybody's going to make something good out of this situation of a film that's already been done and a straight to streaming movie, I guess it's going to be Greta Gerwig. Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we still got to talk about the Oscars. Not only were they the best Oscars in recent memory that I can even think of, apparently it just set a 4-year high in its viewership and a 3rd year in a row that its viewership has gone up. We're going to discuss that a little bit. And also Christopher Nolan's Payday for Oppenheimer has just been, and yes, Christopher Nolan personally could buy Coyote versus Acme and market it and release it if he wanted to. We're going to talk about that. But before we do, we're going to take a quick second and thank one of the sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at Miracle Made. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Miracle Made. Did you know that your temperature at night can have one of the greatest impacts on your sleep quality? If you wake up too hot or too cold, I highly recommend you check out Miracle Made's bed sheets. Inspired by NASA, Miracle Made uses silver-infused fabrics and makes temperature-regulating bedding so that you can sleep at the perfect temperature all night long. When they arrived at our house, my wife Ann loved the feel of them so much, she couldn't even wait for me to get home to put them on our bed. Miracle Made has self-cleaning. These sheets are infused with silver that prevents up to 99.7% of bacterial growth, leaving them to stay cleaner and fresh 3 times longer than other sheets. Miracle Sheets also have incredible comfort and quality. Miracle Sheets are luxuriously comfortable without the high price tag of other luxury brands and feel as nice, if not nicer, than sheets used by some 5-star hotels. So go to TryMiracle, that's TryMiracle.com/Campea to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order today, you can save over 40% event. And if you use our promo code Campea at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you will get a full refund. So upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/Campea and use the code Campea to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/Campea to treat yourself. And thank you to our friends at Miracle Made for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys. Right before we came back, I took a sip and went down the wrong pipe.
Oh, wow. That's really...
Let me try gargling soda. Hold on a second.
For those
That's
of
some
you on
good
the
TV
audio
right there,
medium,
ladies and gentlemen.
ASMR.
Come for the
I was
movie news,
expecting
stay
a Ted
for the
Lasso
gargle.
moment there when you said
Yeah.
gargling soda. I thought I was just going to like...
Yep.
All right. With that down, let's get on to this, shall we? Of course, the Oscars were the other night, and while I didn't love all the results, I loved most of them, but not all of them, the show itself, the event, the ceremony was absolutely fabulous. I mean, like I've said for many, many, many years, going back to the movie blog days, that the Oscars are my second favorite day of the year other than Christmas. And I feel like every year I end up the day after the Oscars going, yeah, it was all right, or that year was terrible, or this one was okay or pretty good. You know, I did open mic yesterday, and I asked my audience. I said, for those of you who've been around for at least following for at least 5 years, when's the last time I was actually like really hyped and pumped about the Oscar ceremony? And like a bunch of people wrote in and said, John, I've been following for 10 years. I don't remember once you being that excited for the Oscars. I just thought they did a fabulous, fabulous job. Well, apparently it also shows in the ratings because they had a 4-year high at the Oscars in the ratings, and the 3rd consecutive year that viewership has continued to go up for the Oscars. Now, this comes from the folks over at The Wrap who write the following. Hollywood's Biggest Night scored 19.5 million total viewers Sunday night on ABC, according to Nielsen's. By the way, that number's been adjusted to 19.8 million. Anyway, according to Nielsen Fast Nation National Live and Same Day data, the telecast of the 96th Academy Awards marked a 4-year high in total viewers, including a 4% increase compared to the 18.8 million who tuned in to the Sunday night telecast in 2023. Last year's broadcast saw a 13% uptick in total viewership compared to the 16.7 million views the awards show nabbed in 2022. All right. So I want to put this into perspective. At 19.8 million views, we're only early in the year of 2024, but if I want to cross that with 2023, 19.8 million views would have made this year's Oscars the #1 viewed broadcast of the year for anything without the letters NFL in the broadcast title. So nothing else, not NBA Finals, not Love is Blind, not Secret Chef or whatever it else. The #1 broadcast would have been the #1 broadcast of the year. But
secret.
but you want to see something funny? Okay, so don't bring it up quite yet, Jonathan.
All right.
But I went out to just kind of look at, okay, so where would it, and I realized it would have been the #1 broadcast of the year for anything other than NFL. But this is pretty funny. If you want to know the domination of the NFL, take a look at this. This is the most watched broadcasts of 2023. #1 was, of course, the Super Bowl. #2 was an NFL playoff. #3 was an NFL playoff. #4 was an NFL playoff. #5, NFL playoff. #6, NFL Thursday night game. #7, just Sunday football. #8, NFL football. #9, NFL football. #10, NFL football. #11, #12, #13, #14, #15. Finally, we got down. So at 19.8, this year's Oscars would have bumped out last year's Oscars for the #15 spot. Again, then if you just take out the NFL things, it would have been #1. Again, if you were at all a little bit unsure about the absolute domination of the NFL, there's a pretty good example for you. Now, let's get back to the Oscars. This is a 3-headed piece of good news for the Oscars. #1, biggest they've had in 4 years, because, especially in the years prior to that, it would start to struggle a bit. #2, third consecutive year that the viewership has been going up. That's exactly the kind of trend they want to see. But here's the third piece of good news. With this year's Oscars being finally awesome, because I honestly cannot remember the last time I thought the Oscars were awesome. It's been a long time. But with this year's Oscars being awesome, I can pretty much guarantee you right now that next year's Oscars will be the new record and will be the fourth time in a row. Because I think the vast majority, at least all the online conversations I've seen, most people had a great time watching the Oscars last night. I think next year the numbers will be up even more again. I mean, God, that John Cena moment is still one of my favorite moments ever at the Oscars. I mean, so much great stuff happened at it. So, I mean, all around, this is really terrific news for it, Chris. So you see these numbers. Does it surprise you to see that went up? I mean, we did have the whole phenomenon of Oppenheimer this year. I mean, next year we're going to have the whole Dune 2 and everything, hopefully Deadpool will be up for Best Picture. It's not going to be up for Best Picture.
It could
but one
be.
Can hope.
Who knows?
One can hope.
Hope springs eternal.
What's your biggest takeaway from all these numbers we're seeing?
That tuning in again to see if somebody got slapped wasn't a fluke. Because I really feel like last year it was some other shit gonna
What's going to happen this year?
What's going to happen?
Who's going to lose their mind?
And this year, I feel like it was this big push of we had a great year of movies. We had really, really fantastic movies. And a lot of movies that I think people typically would not go out and see on their own that did get a lot of love from your average viewer. I mean, Past Lives, so many people went and saw that this year that I think in other years they wouldn't have. We had so many people talking about both Oppenheimer and Barbie because of the Barbenheimer of it all, right? We had these great big milestones in cinema, it felt this year. It felt like a real big return to going to the movies, which was very exciting. And I think especially post-strike, having movie news, being able to talk about movies, being able to talk about what we're seeing in theaters and what we're enjoying is great. And it was a well-done show. It was executed so well. Jimmy Kimmel did an excellent job. The speeches were all fire. Everyone did a great job this year.
You know what? Just think, the speech everybody was talking about was Glazer. Is that how you pronounce the director's name for the best international feature?
Oh yes,
right.
Is it Tony Glazer? Is that his name?
I can't remember his name.
Sorry.
Everybody's talking about his speech. That was the one category I missed.
Really?
Yeah, I chose when it got to best international feature. That's when I decided to go make my prolonged bathroom break, and I went off to the bathroom and I didn't see it.
Oh, Jonathan Glazer.
Oh, Jonathan Glazer.
Tony Glazer's a
people
producer.
were asking like yesterday, man, what do you think of Jonathan Glazer? I'm like, wait a minute, is he the one about the Ukraine? It's like, no, that's the one I missed. But that's the speech everybody's talking about. That's the moment I missed.
There were a lot of powerful moments. There were really great moments just from other actors and writers and everything. I love what, Cord is, what is his last name, from American Fiction, the writer-director of that. I loved his speech talking about, hey, all film is a risk. So maybe instead of these $200 million ones, we make $10 million ones and we just take that risk and we see what happens. Everything I think was just so great and such a love letter to movies, which is what the Oscars should be. And then we had great performances too. I mean, the I'm Just Ken performance is one of the best things I've ever seen from the Oscars.
Listen, Canadians rule. I mean, Ryan Gosling there, good Canadian representation on stage. But when the camera swung around and it showed that he was standing there with Slash, I'm like, of course he's standing with Slash and doing that. It was,
and this too was not only a love letter to Barbie, but to Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. There's so many great moments this year, and I think people just really tuned in because they were actually invested. And a lot of times, I think the Oscars and what people enjoy, there's a big rift between them. Kind of popular vote versus the Electoral College. And this year, I feel like we had this really great crossover event of people really enjoyed these and they were critically acclaimed. And that's really fun when those two collide.
And it'll be really exciting to see how this evolves next year.
Absolutely.
And I don't know how they top themselves this year. But by the way, this came up yesterday. I want to know what you think. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm more of I prefer movie personalities to host the Oscars, the biggest night of the movie year. But I thought Kimmel was very solid. And I would have no complaints at all if they announced that Kimmel hosted again next year. I'll be fine with that. But
okay,
I want to throw a name at you. Tell me what you think. Somebody else brought this up yesterday, but I want to see what you think. John Mulaney. hosting the Oscars.
Oh, that'd be fun because he did the Independent Spirit Awards several times with Nick Kroll. And
Oh,
those
did
were
he actually
hilarious.
host?
Yeah, they were
I had
so
no
funny.
idea.
They were so funny.
Because you saw his presentation. He presented.
He did a great job. I highly recommend watching his opening monologue that he and Kroll did. You can just YouTube it. Super, super fun. They were on fire when they did it. It was a blast. I'm still holding out. I really want the Muppets to do it. And I know that's basic, and you know you can expect that from me, but I want the Muppets to host the Oscars. I'd
What is
love
this,
it
like
so much.
1976?
I wish it was, Jonathan.
Back when dreams came true?
Back when Muppets could do anything, and
Yeah.
maybe I couldn't have a bank account. I don't know.
Somebody suggested Dave Chappelle hosting the Oscars.
Yeah, there you go.
I'd watch that just to see what happens. You know, a quick
I'd be
side thing.
nervous. I'd be nervous
be
the
nervous.
whole time.
A couple of months ago, Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock performed together at what's the arena where the Anaheim Ducks play? The Pond?
I think it was. It
Looked
used to
that
be the
way.
Pond.
Yeah, it used to be called. Now it's the Honda Center
Yeah,
or
Honda
something like
Center,
that.
there you go.
So this big hockey arena and stuff like that. I'll tell you what, it was. I thought I was going to have to be hospitalized because it was like 2.5 hours of nonstop my ab muscles, like in a constant state of flex because you're laughing, like I couldn't like it was one of the best live comedy shows I've seen in a long time. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What's your big takeaway from this? Apparently it was the biggest show they've done in 4 years. It's the third year in a row that the ratings have continued to go up. What do you expect for next year? Who would you like to see host next year? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Yeah, I remember when I got my first paycheck working road construction back when I was a teenager. My dad was like the commissioner of engineering, so, you know, it was not hard for him to get his snot-nosed kid a summer job working construction and stuff like that. My dad thought it would build character. Did nothing of the sort. Ha ha! Suck it, Dad. But I remember getting my first paycheck working that job and being like, gotta remember, I think the minimum wage at the time was like $7, and I got like $10 an hour, like shoveling asphalt and stuff like that. And I remember thinking, this is amazing. Like, it must be the same kind of feeling that Christopher Nolan woke up to today.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because apparently Christopher Nolan's paycheck for Oppenheimer has just kind of been revealed from Variety, and it's a little bit more than the $10 an hour that I got shoveling asphalt. This comes to us from Variety, where it says, Christopher Nolan's final payday for the film Oppenheimer, which traces the life of the titular scientist J. Robert Oppenheimer and his role in creating the atomic bomb, is just south of $100 million, according to knowledgeable sources. That figure represents a combination of salary, back-end compensation, box office escalators, and a bonus for his twin Academy Awards. A representative for the filmmaker did not respond to a request for comment. All right. I have thoughts. Couple of them. On the one hand, the more cynical, let me talk about the cynical side of me. The more cynical side of me is thinking back to, like, say, the actor strike, which is, you know, you've got a bunch of actors who work really hard on movies and who can't even pay rent. Well, that's because you got some directors making $100 million. Maybe that money could be redistributed somewhere and all that kind of stuff, where you have one actor on set making $15 million while somebody else is making what John Campea made shoveling asphalt on road construction. And that's the cynical side of me. And I have been a proponent, for those of you who've watched me for any period of time, you know, I am a proponent that I think it is ridiculous that an actor or a director be paid that kind of money. Like, I don't think an actor should be paid $20 million for 2.5 months' work. I don't think that should happen, especially when you got other actors in the movie. I don't think every actor should make the same. Of course not. That's ridiculous. But, you know, when we got other actors on the same movie who are barely making enough to take an Uber to the set that day. That being said, there's something about this that I kind of like at the same time. And that is, it's almost like it comes across to me like a sports contract that's really incentive-based, right? All the time. For those of you who don't follow sports, like an athlete could sign in here, okay, they signed for $4 million salary, but There are bonuses if the team makes the playoffs, if they score a certain amount of points, and if they become an all-star, there's a bonus. It could equal up to $22 million.
Right.
Okay.
Even because the league also gives you money because if you win like the World Series or the NFL, Super
then you
Bowl.
get additional salary on top of all that, right? What I kind of like about this is that a lot of what Christopher Nolan, because let's bring this back up again. A lot of what Christopher Nolan is making is apparently attached to results.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, okay, according to the figure represents salary, but it's also back-end compensation, box office escalator. So if the movie makes so much, you get this much of a bonus. If it makes so much, you get this much of a bonus. Back-end compensation, box office escalators, and a bonus for his Academy Award wins. Because what that tells me is that I don't mind people making a ton obscene amount of money if them making that money represents they risked making less. So like I would feel very awkward if they just said, "Oh, Christopher Nolan, come direct a movie and we'll just give you a check for $98 million." I mean that feels, but when it's attached to say something where it's like, okay, look, you actually are risking not making that much, but if everything goes great, then you do get paid more. And I kind of like that $100 million. But remember, they're about to re-release Oppenheimer into theaters now, won Best Picture, and it could be enough to get it over the $1 billion mark.
Nice.
Which, by the way, triggers another box office plateau for Christopher Nolan's contract. If the movie does hit $1 billion, he's going to get another check. So it's a good day to be Christopher Nolan.
Also, along with what you're saying, one, he also gets writing credits. So he wrote it, directed it. Obviously, you're speaking about that. He was a producer, so he worked as a producer on it. So that salary right there is split not evenly three ways, but he did a lot more than just normally. And then, none of the escalators or bonuses come out of the budget, so it wouldn't affect any actor at the beginning and pre-production.
Right. So like his salary was one number, and I'm sure for directors it was a good salary. He's Christopher Nolan. But, he was in a position that he could miss out on money if the movie didn't do what they were hoping it would do. And he ended up, guess what? He ended up cashing in. The movie made $1 billion, and he had all these performance incentives attached to it. And when you're Christopher Nolan, I guess you could do that, and he wins. And by the way, that doesn't count however much money his wife made on it, who's the main producer of the film.
She's also pretty,
the one who actually received the Oscar. Well, three of them received Oscars. There, three of them were producers. By the way, same producer, that dude who gave the speech for the movie, he's the main producer of the Harry Potter movies too. Yeah. Yeah. So
this guy down here is rolling in it.
He's the one who brought the story to Christopher Nolan. It was his fifth movie working with those two making movies. So, I mean, good on him. He made money too. So, yeah, when you have $1 billion film, I guess there's a lot of money to go around. And let's face it, Oppenheimer wouldn't be Oppenheimer if it wasn't for Christopher Nolan. So I don't know. And Chris, you see this. I don't know, like, for
so
you,
much money.
$100 million paycheck is just a Tuesday. I mean, we get that. But I mean, for a struggling director like Christopher Nolan, like
it's always so good to see a Chris win.
It's always so good to see a Chris.
When
it's
one
like
of us wins, all of us do. It's nice. Yeah, we have a communal fund. He doesn't know about it yet, but we do. We do. It's great to see that he is thriving. I am with you on some of these paydays, though, that I go, oh, that's a lot of money for one human being. And I was trying to, just because I'd seen a couple people as well do, I wonder what Greta made. I went, oh, I do wonder what Greta made. And I tried to find that number, and I haven't been able to so far. But I know Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie are reportedly being paid $12.5 million each for their on-screen work. And that Margot Robbie is set to earn $50 million in salary and bonuses, but she's also a producer.
Well, she was more than even just the regular. She was the driving force behind
absolutely.
Barbie.
She produced all of that. She made all of this happen. But while looking for it, I found this quote from Greta Gerwig that she said to CNBC of, I always have this sense of don't negotiate, just take whatever they'll give us because I'm so scared that I won't be able to make a movie. I don't want to ask for too much. And so obviously now she'll be able to do more of this. And I hope she starts making this Chris Nolan money. Yeah. I love that.
She ain't on Netflix.
No, she's not on Netflix.
Making Lion the Witch and the
Not
Wardrobe.
with those dump movies.
I hope that she starts advocating for herself because clearly Christopher Nolan is somebody who advocates for himself. He knows his worth.
Yeah.
And this is just something that further kind of his win just shows that he was worth this paycheck,
Yeah.
right?
Well, he's also so established with
He's
blockbusters.
very established, and Greta Gerwig is newer to the scene.
But
She has a
she'll
very
be there.
consistent record, and she's going to be able to get here. But I think that, you know, Rob always talks about this too. You don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. And Christopher Nolan knows this. He absolutely knows his worth, even though he's had a few films too that haven't done exceptionally well. Looking at you, Tenet. He knows that he can get paid this much from a studio. He knows that he is the driving force behind things. And he has such a distinct style and voice when it comes to his films, even when they are more sci-fi, genre-bending, superhero, what have you. It feels like a Christopher Nolan film.
Studios also know that they attract talent.
Oh yeah.
And there's no way people are going to be like, I don't really want to work with Greta at this point.
Absolutely
So-
not. But this also, I think this is another one of those kind of nails in the coffin for his old relationship that he used to have with Warner Brothers. Of just, hey, these people treat me so well. They put my movies out where they're supposed to. They pay me what I deserve. They listen to my vision. They talk to me and let me do this ridiculous, huge movie about an American scientist. When you look at American Prometheus, the first thought when you read that book is not, oh man, this is going to be a huge blockbuster film.
This is a $1 billion movie.
It's not. When
Yeah.
I was reading that novel, people are like, why? He has so much vision and foresight. And I think this paycheck just kind of showcases that the studios believe that he does too.
Now, but to that point, Charles Roven, who is the little guy, the other producer who won the Academy
Yeah,
Award with
he's
them
just a
for
little
it.
guy.
He had.
Oh, no.
What did I say?
don't
Did I
do
say
it.
something wrong?
No, you said the little guy, and I went, he's just a little guy.
Oh, you
And,
see?
and Ray hates it.
Adorable little Charles
There we
Roven,
go.
little Chucky. He has said before that he said I can totally see us talking about him and Christopher Nolan and his wife making another movie with Warner Brothers someday, because now it's not the same people who screwed him over
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But I mean,
But Warner Brothers better be treating Greta well and learn their lesson.
yes.
Yep.
And to your point, Chris, like, hey, you know, my first film with Universal, hot damn, look what happened. I got $100 million payday. I'm about to have a $1 billion film, my first since Batman. I got 2 Academy Awards, and the sun is pretty bright over
Yeah.
at Universal.
Absolutely.
I'm sure he's got some problems in his life somewhere.
He's gotta.
Somewhere.
He's
Let's
gotta.
go
Yep.
sniff him out.
I hope Universal gets rid of the Fast and Furious ride, gives us an Oppenheimer one.
Ooh.
That's what we're gonna do next.
Right.
You know, that would be a blast.
All right. Guys, with that down, let's go over to the main part of our show, the most important part of our show, which is hearing from you guys. What are your thoughts, theories, opinions, or questions? We're going to get to those, but before we do, we're going to take a quick second and thank another sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at Harry's. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Harry's. You know, guys, in order to start the John Campea Show, I had to leave my high-paying corporate job in order to set myself up to be happier and enjoy more personal success. Because sometimes to get what you want, you have to challenge the status quo and blaze your own trail. And that's exactly what the folks at Harry's did. You see, at Harry's, they saw customers getting ripped off by questionable products in the shaving industry and decided to do something better. Harry's decided to pave their own road by making beautifully designed razors for a fraction of the price of the other big brands. Exceptional products, honest prices. That's Harry's. I have fallen in love with Harry's, from their foaming shaving gel that feels just luxurious on the skin to their incredible razor that feels just as good in the hand as it does going over your skin. They've got rich, lathering, skin-softening body wash in scents like redwood, wildlands, and stone. You see, Harry's provides German-engineered blades made in their own factory that stay sharp longer. You can get a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, foaming shave gel, and a travel cover for just $3 at harrys.com/campea. Don't settle for the status quo. Blaze your own trail with Harry's. Get started with a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/campea. That's harrys.com/campea for a $3 trial set. And thank you to our friends at Harry's for sponsoring today's episode and making my skin so baby smooth of the John Campea Show podcast. All right. With that down, guys, let's get over to your questions here, shall we? Chris, what do we got up first?
Starting with Kyle there. Let me bring it down.
From
There you
Kyle Schneider. June is a great month for TV shows this year. The Bear Season 3, The Boy Seasons 4, and House of the Dragon Season 2. Cannot wait to watch them.
Wait, is The Bear coming back in June?
That seems early. But
That
I'll
seems
check.
really early.
Bear Season 3.
I feel like season 2 just ended not long ago.
No, in June.
No, it's been a minute. 'cause it was
Really?
the strikes and everything.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, that's exciting.
I know.
I mean, listen, we got some
love that
killer
one.
stuff. First of all, Shogun's out right now. By the way, I got caught up. I was a couple episodes behind on Halo. It is not Last of Us, House of the Dragon, Shogun level, but I'll tell you what, Halo this year is a big improvement over last year.
Oh yeah, man. It's hitting, I think, 94% right now.
Yeah, it is a big improvement. I am really quite enjoying it. And I know Ray texted me yesterday out of nowhere because I forgot that I was like behind on Halo, and he texted
Just
me out of
wanted
nowhere.
to make sure.
Are you caught up? Did you see the preview for next week's episode? And I'm like, so I better. So I told Ann, sorry, baby, I can't hang out with you tonight. I gotta go.
Okay, don't blame that. on
Ray says I can't hang out with you tonight. He says I gotta go sit in the theater room and watch Halo. And I watch. Yeah, I'm really liking it. But yeah, obviously the boys coming back. I am so excited. I keep waiting for the boys to trail off. I keep waiting for the boys to lose momentum. Like even then they put out the spin-off show.
Gen V.
Gen-
Gen V. I was
I
going to say
really
God
like that
You,
show.
but it's Gen V. And I'm like, nope, still hasn't slowed down. This is incredible. And I cannot wait for the boys to come back. All right, what's next?
From HV3, one of two. I disagree with your take on streaming services. I don't think they'll go to a credit system. I think it's going to end up more like cable was. Eventually, they will get together. And we will have to sign up for about 4 or 5 at once for $150 or more a month with a 2-year contract.
Well, I mean, remember, I said there were that was just one point. There are 3 different points we made about streaming. Number one was that I think very soon you're going to see a sign-up fee when you sign up for a streaming service. Like, say, for argument's sake, it's $20 a month to have Netflix, but when you sign up, you got to pay a $30 sign-up fee. That's going to make them more money. And then number 2, it's going to dissuade people from churning, from canceling after they watch one show and then just sign up to watch when the next show comes out. And so that's 100%. I believe that is absolutely coming. Probably sometime in 2026, that's going to be part of our reality. Because the number one enemy right now of the streaming services is churn. People watching a show, then canceling the service, then signing back up when someone else comes. That's what the streaming services hate more than anything else. And so that they can't outlaw it. So what do? They're going to attach a fee to it. And then they'll go like, oh, if you're a first-time subscriber, we waive the sign-up fee. They're going to do something like that. The second thing I said they're going to do is I think they're going to move to a credit system. Now, this comes from the fact that streaming services have followed the patterns of other online subscription services. And right now, the trend in online subscription services, whether it's AI art generation, whether it's like audio conversion sites and all these types of things, is you sign up for your monthly fee, and that monthly fee gives you a certain bank of credits. Think of Audible, too, in a way. You get a certain bank of credits. So maybe it'll look something like, I'm not trying to pick on Netflix. I'm just using them as the example. So Netflix will go, okay, for your $20 a month, you get 400 net credits. Okay, great. Yeah, for every half-hour episode, that's 1 credit. For every hour-long episode, that's 2 credits. And for every feature film you watch, that's 4 credits. And if you run out of that's plenty of credits. But if you happen to run out, don't worry. For $15, you can buy an additional 100 credits to top you up for the month. And listen, I just say that because streaming has kind of very subtly followed other online subscription patterns, and that is becoming a pattern. And I don't want them to do it. I hope they don't do it. They very well could manifest it the way you were just saying about bundled and all that kind of stuff. Absolutely. But I really fear it's going to come. I really, really am fearful of that. I hope I'm wrong. 100% I hope I'm wrong. But we'll see. All right, what's next?
From Jake Camara. Hey, John, about the hotline. Dan Murrell has one too, but recently the deal ended. So he made one final video with all the best questions he had. Would you do something similar if yours ended too?
I don't know what she's talking about.
Like the Mint hotline, I'm guessing? I don't know.
Oh, well, here's the thing. Mint Mobile, they are still a sponsor of ours. So we are going to continue to do Mint Mobile hotlines. It's just that Mint Mobile is no longer going to be what no sponsor has ever been. They are no longer going to be an every single day sponsor. They're going to be a sponsor like most of our other sponsors, which is like 1 week a month. So Mint Mobile is still one of our sponsors. We love Mint Mobile. They're still my mobile service provider, and we are still going to do Mint Mobile Hotline, but usually on the weeks that they are our actually, they're going to be a sponsor in the next week or two.
I think, next week or 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we will continue to have Mint Mobile Hotlines on those weeks. All right. What's next?
From Carlos, saw Monkey Man at South by Southwest. What a ride. It blends riveting action with a compelling narrative. Witnessing a standing ovation for Patel was truly special. Have you seen that video?
No. What video?
The video of him getting his standing ovation.
No.
It's wonderful.
At South by Southwest?
Yeah. Everyone just jumps to their feet and he is just so moved. It's lovely. And it made me even more excited about seeing this.
Jordan Peele, producer, right?
Yes.
Listen, obviously there's Deadpool 3 and Dune is now behind us. Deadpool 3 is ahead. I don't know. Oh, Javon just gifted like 10 memberships out. Thank you, man. That's
Javon.
incredibly generous of you, man.
We had 5. If someone can remember their name, someone gifted 5 earlier.
Oh, I didn't notice it.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you guys so much. But other than Deadpool 3, I am hard pressed right now to think of a movie I'm more excited to see than Monkey Man. This is an example of trailers done right. Trailer came out of nowhere. He slapped us in the face and it's like, oh my God, I cannot wait. This trailer looks so good. I cannot wait. By the way, I've got a question for people. Anybody else who was out South by Southwest, there's a documentary playing there called Movie Pass, Movie Crash. It's a documentary. It's an HBO documentary. They debuted it down there. And I had a few people write to me and say, I'm in it. Which, I mean, I don't know if it's like 2 seconds or a minute. I have no idea. But if anybody else was down there and can confirm that, I'd be very interested to hear from you. All right. Anyway, what's next?
From Kevin. Hey, crew. Hey, John and crew.
Oh my gosh, Kevin sent in a
$50
$50 super chat. Thank you, Kevin.
Wow.
Do you think Timothy Chalamet gets nominated for an Oscar next year, or is it too soon to tell? Also, John, do you ever just roam around the studio wearing the Magneto helmet? Bring on the filthy.
I will not answer that question.
If he does, it's after hours.
Yeah, I was
'cause
going to
I've
say,
never
it's not
seen
when
him.
we're here.
Well, if you're a member,
question
there
is-
might be a video.
Yeah.
Do I walk around the office wearing nothing but the Magneto
Oh, boy.
helmet?
That's-
That's the question.
Yeah, I'm going home.
As far as the Timothy Chalamet, I think it is too early to call. It's possible. His performance is fantastic. But like but I will call it right now. Javier Bardem will be nominated for
Yeah.
Best Supporting Actor. I mean, I don't have to wait for the year to happen. He'll get a nomination. Whether he wins or not, that we have to wait and see. Timothy Chalamet is fantastic in this movie, but my God, just look at what this year's Oscars crop was. Like, it was stacked, that category. And if it is equally as stacked, it will be not easy. James Wheeler just gifted 10 memberships
Thank
as well.
you, man.
Thank you, James.
Thanks.
Appreciate that, man, so much, as well as everybody else in there who just got gifted a membership. That's very generous of you, man. So yes, he could very well get nominated. My guess is he'll get nominated, but I don't feel as confident about that as I do about, say, Javier Bardem getting a Best Supporting Actor nomination. And listen, by the way, this could be like, I think the last time it happened, correct me if I'm wrong, was when 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri, which, by the way, is a fabulous movie. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It's great. But you had, who plays Hamish in Hunger Games? Is that his name? Hamish? Woody Harrelson. So when you had Woody Harrelson and
Sam Rockwell.
Sam Rockwell both got nominated for Best Supporting Actor in that movie. Next year, the same thing could happen because we could see Austin Butler and Javier Bardem nominated for Best Supporting Actor for that movie. But but as far as the lead one goes, that could be tougher. That could be tougher. Logan gifted 5 memberships. Thank you, Logan. Well, everybody's just being generous to
mine.
the other viewers. That's amazing. All right, what's next?
From Romeo J. Dakota said via interview she would never do another superhero movie after Madam Web. If Jared Leto agrees, what does that mean for the Sonyverse?
What would it matter?
Yeah.
Honestly, it
What's
doesn't
Sony-
matter because Sony is not doing another Morbius movie and they're not going to do another Madam Web movie. And listen, like Christian Bale, after The Dark Knight Rises, famously said he was never going to do another comic book movie again. And then Thor: Love and Thunder came along. So I mean that's fine. I mean, so she might do another one in the future. We'll see. But it really doesn't mean anything because they were never going to make another Morbius or another Madam Web. I mean, they've got to regroup. I mean, the only thing that's working, well, the two things that are working for them is Venom and obviously the animated Spider-Verse stuff. That's working really well for them. The Venom films have made them over $1 billion, like $1.4 billion at the box office. The Spider-Verse movies are fabulous. So that stuff's working for them. They're going to have to reassess how they're doing everything else, though. And God, I'm nervous about Kraven.
Oof.
I am so scared for Kraven. I was optimistic for Kraven, and then I saw Madam Web.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, there goes that. All right, what's next?
All right. Also, I just want to say Tor gifted 5, but actually Tor is given 20. This is like
What?
Oh, my gosh.
It's given
Thank
20
you,
in total.
Tor.
Tor, thank you.
Given 5 like 4 times?
yeah.
Thank you, Tor.
4 times.
4
times.
Godzilla minus 1 time.
Yeah.
From Raymond, I met showrunner Terry Matalas at Star Trek San
Oh, nice.
Francisco, and he was a very nice guy. He was a PA during Deep Space Nine and Voyager, which is why Star Trek Picard Season 3 was special to a lot of fans.
Well, I know Rob has spoken with Terry many times and really,
Yeah,
really
they're
likes
buddies
Terry.
now.
Yeah, they're friends.
Star Trek Discovery, by the way, is getting ready to launch its final season. I'm reading good reviews, oddly enough. Star Trek Discovery is a show that's been bagged on by a bunch of people. I've had some serious issues with it, but I've also, in general, enjoy it. It's nowhere near as good as Strange New Worlds. Like, Strange New Worlds is like best Star Trek since Star Trek The Next Generation. But I'm going to be really curious to see the final season of Discovery, see how they end that thing off. All right, what's next?
From Raymond again, the new Salem's Lot will go to streaming on Max, starring Lewis Pullman, Bob of Top Gun Maverick, who is the son of Bill Pullman. He was also just in Lessons in Chemistry with Brie Larson.
That's right.
And he's our future
Sentry,
Sentry.
yes.
Century. Yep.
He's very talented.
I just remember they showed us the trailer for Salem's Lot either at last year's
That was
CinemaCon
the year before,
or was the year before.
and it was crazy.
And,
I
and
hate
it,
We love our viewers.
it was crazy. It was a kind of a I liked the trailer. I thought it was a
Creeped me
really
out.
creepy
It was
trailer,
horrifying.
but apparently it had issues and it's had a long road and struggle to becoming seen, but sounds like maybe they figured it out at this point. I'm gonna be very interested to see how this one turns out. All right, what's next?
From Susie, indie music fan, who sends in a $20 super chat.
Thank you, Susie.
Loved the Oscars. People who complain that there is too much diversity in Hollywood and the place is finished because of it are totally wrong.
Yep.
People are returning to the cinema after a number of turbulent years. It's very positive.
Yeah, look, again, here's the problem. For many, many years, there has been an agenda in Hollywood for almost a century. There has been an agenda in Hollywood of exclusion. That right from studio heads and stuff like that, all the way down, we've seen many, many pieces on this and many books written about it, but there was a rule. Keep minorities out, keep women in their place, keep the gays out, all it was just, they had this agenda that it had to be straight, white, and male. That's what Hollywood had to be. And today, what we've seen over the last few years is slowly but surely that agenda being dismantled and saying the gates need to be taken down. And for some reason, that scares a lot of cowards. That scares a lot of people. People like their gates. People like the exclusion. Again, I'm not going to try to be politically correct about it. These people are sniveling asshat cowards. But and then they'll cry. Oh, it's just an agenda. No, it's not. It's the ending of an agenda, and that's what scares them. This century-long agenda is being put away, piece by piece, slowly at first, but brick by brick. That wall is coming down and letting everybody in, as it should be. And I think this year's Oscars were a fabulous representation of that. I thought it was great. And, we'll see where it goes. And by the way, lest you think, like, I lean all the way one way. Like, I remember a couple of years ago when there was the Oscar So White stuff was coming out. I disagreed with that. I 100% disagreed with that. I would say, listen, it's not the job of the Oscars to nominate people based on diversity. It's the job of Hollywood to make sure enough people of diversity are being given opportunities and being given roles and being given jobs that they can be in a position that the Oscars can nominate them. It's the Oscars' job to nominate excellence, period. It's Hollywood's job to make sure enough people are getting opportunities and roles that when it comes time, that they're actually in positions that the Academy can legitimately nominate them. But it's not going to happen until this agenda wall that's been up for 100 years finally comes down. And if you're one of those people who are afraid of it, suck it up, grow some balls, and deal with it. Anyway, all right, what's next?
From River to the Sea. Hey all, yesterday I asked about Jonathan Glazer's Oscar speech, and I know you happened to miss it, but surely you must have seen the fallout. Any thoughts, or is this too controversial to address? Cheers.
I honestly don't know what I just heard the speech was great. I've honestly not heard what the speech was about.
Some people took issue with the denouncing their own Judaism, their own Jewishness. Or retracting that Jewishness.
Oh, was it about the Gaza conflict?
Yes.
I believe so.
Okay, that makes sense.
So
I
some
actually missed
people-
that one too. So
Some people took issue with that phrasing. Other people took issue with it being a political statement in general, calling for the ceasefire in Gaza. I mean, political issues are always going to have multiple sides
What's
to them.
controversial about that?
Right? No. Of just,
Hey, let's stop shooting each other.
I feel like
when does that become a controversial
shouldn't be
statement?
murdered. I feel like no one should be mass murdered. I feel like that's
Well,
fine.
look, I've had people write in over the past number of months asking me to do some kind of commentary on the Gaza conflict and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, number one, why would you care what I think about it? I'm an educated guy, but I'm not educated in global geopolitical affairs. I don't know. And I'm smart enough to know the things I don't know. And so I take no position. I just think people are wonderful. Let's not kill each other, but whatever. So I don't listen. If somebody has a platform, I always talk about this. When people say celebrities shouldn't say their political beliefs, I say, well, then plumbers shouldn't be allowed to say their political beliefs.
especially
Yeah.
And
plumbers,
delivery guys shouldn't be allowed to give political beliefs. And waitresses shouldn't be allowed to express their political beliefs. It's fine. Again, I can say what's the controversy, but I didn't see the speech, so I can't really say.
Do you want to just get the quote correct, just for anyone else who also hasn't seen the speech? Our film shows where dehumanization leads at its worst. It shaped all of our past and present. Right now, we stand here as men who refute their Jewishness and the Holocaust being hijacked by an occupation which has led to conflict for so many innocent people. So I feel like it was a very powerful speech.
and it's his opinion.
And it's yeah.
Yeah, it's so what are we supposed to impose a rule that says okay, give a speech as long as you say something everybody agrees with? I don't know. It seems weird. Anyway, I can't comment on it because I didn't see the speech. So let's move on. What's next?
From Matan, sending in a $30 super chat.
Oh, thank you, Matan.
The Boy and the Heron was the PG-13 film to win Best Animated at the Oscars. Would it push American studios to try PG-13 animated films? Illumination is already planning on it with Moonlight Label. With the Moonlight Label, excuse me.
Let's be clear though. PG-13 didn't win them the Oscar.
Yeah.
Making a really great movie won them the Oscar. It wasn't the best animated film of the year. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse was, but whatever. I'm still butthurt about that. But that aside, that's the thing. People look for, we as people, and I'm guilty of this too. We look for something and say, oh, well, that was the deciding factor. No one's going to, and there are other PG-13 films, but no one's going to say, oh, well, what made it win the Oscar was that it was PG-13. That's what made it win the Oscar. Was Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse?
Let me check.
I can't imagine, with the amount of violence in it, I can't imagine that's a PG film. I can't imagine Spider-Verse or Into or Across could be PG, just PG. It was just PG?
Yep.
With all that violence?
Yep.
Wow.
We're getting immune.
But anyway, I mean, and
Right.
those were the best films of the year, animated films of the year. It's not the rating that gets it. So no, I don't think studios are going to look at that and say, well, if we want to win awards, we got to make it PG-13. I don't think that's going to be at all as a part of the conversation. I mean, I might be wrong, but I don't think so. All right, what's next?
From Andy. The Academy gave the Oscar to Emma Stone over Lily Gladstone, and I watched Stone versus Gladstone while I was totally stoned. Go Stone!
You know what? I mentioned this on Open Mic last night, but one of the things I loved about Emma Stone's speech was that, you know, this was truly, like we said going to the Oscars, the only category that's really at anybody's guess on who's going to win was Best Actress. Especially after Lily Gladstone won the SAG. Then it was like really up in the air, like who knew who was going to win. And all award season was that. It was Lily wins this, Emma wins that. Lily wins this and Emma won a couple in a row. Then Lily took the SAG. And one of the best parts of the evening was when Emma Stone's up there on the stage with her busted dress, which was, how charming was that? And she looks over at Lily. Maybe she was excluding all the other nominees, but she specifically looked at Lily and said, part of the best thing about this is that we've been on this journey together, like talking about the award season. And she said, I hope we get to do this for many more years to come, which I thought was a wonderful thing to say. I mean, again, it wasn't a put down to the other actresses who were nominated, but everybody knew it was either going to be Emma Stone or Lily Gladstone. But I thought that was a really precious moment. All right, what's next?
From Devoured by Bunny.
What a bad bunny.
Fan since AMC days.
Oh, thank you.
What's the status of having the show translated in other languages like Spanish? Would love to get my dad into your show.
Well, I'm working on my Duolingo account, and I will get it to you guys soon, but I want to be fluent.
I kid you not. Hold on a second. I literally have I literally have a text message here from one of my reps, one of my management guys, saying, let's have a conversation this afternoon about our translation stuff.
I am so sorry for whoever has to translate my dialogue on this show.
Oh,
talking
no, it's
about
AI.
cats' butts. Oh, okay, then I don't feel bad.
It's AI. So for those of you who know, we are thinking about, and actually we're more than just thinking about, we're kind of a little ways down the road now. We've been thinking about this, about creating a new channel that is just the John Campea Show, but that will be in Spanish. Because the technology exists now that we will be able to take our show and our videos and have AI translate in our voice and even change the movement of our lips. For our friends in India, some of you guys remember a little while ago, I put up a little short video of me speaking Hindi. And it looked like I was speaking Hindi, but that was actually just me giving a little bit of a test run to this company that wants to work with us. And so what it would probably be is maybe not the entire John Campea Show, but maybe our segments. We'd create a channel and put our segments up in Spanish, which means Ray is going to have to make thumbnails in Spanish. We haven't gotten that. We haven't talked about that part yet.
We haven't stopped listening.
We haven't gotten that far down the road yet. And then, yeah, so making that as a separate site and then, or a separate channel. And then if that works, then we will, like maybe it's called, John Campea Espanol or something like that. But then if that works, and that's a big if, because it probably won't work. But if it does, then we might look at doing one in Hindi and then doing one in Mandarin and doing one in, I don't know. We'll see. Again, we're going to take baby steps. One of the things I took away from my time at AMC, at AMC Theaters, corporately, they had this mantra that was very frustrating, but there was a lot of wisdom to it, called crawl, walk, run. Like, just go slow. Make sure everything's done right. Crawl first, then walk, then run. And maybe in the next couple of months, we'll see that. We'll have a Spanish channel up, so we'll see. And then, by the way, I don't know if that's going to be offensive to people. Is translating it into another language and making it look like we're speaking language, will that be considered offensive? I don't know. Like, we're going to have to talk to a lot of people and get a lot of input and test a lot of things.
You'll let us know.
What's that?
I said the comment section will let us know.
The internet will have no problem letting us know. But we want to make sure that we're providing something that is a service to some people. But if, like, some people look at it and say, that's cultural appropriation or something like that. And then it's like, okay, well then we don't want to make something if it's not going to be beneficial to people, if it's going to rub people the wrong way. So again, we got to speak to a lot of people. We got to test some things out, and then maybe we'll give it a shot, and maybe it'll work and maybe it won't. We'll find out. All right, what's next?
From Andy again. When Emma Stone won and hugged Mark Ruffalo on her way to the stage, all I could think about was Poor Things. And I was like, please don't fuck at the Oscars.
Listen, I had somebody write in, one of our longtime viewers write in and said, I wanted to like Poor Things, but the amount of filthy just made me a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's a lot of sex.
It's a lot of sex.
Yeah.
And I said, I can't relate because I'm not going to lie. I'm a guy. I love filthy. Bring on the filthy. I love the filthy movie.
Dudes!
But
When did you get all of these? What
Don't worry,
happened?
Chris. Don't worry about it.
I'm
Chris.
not here for a few days and everything changes.
I made the mistake of showing Jonathan how to set up a soundboard on OBS. But at any rate, it's worked great. I love it. But I said, like, but I could totally see it. Like, maybe you thought, oh, there's this Academy Award buzzed movie called Poor Things, got Oscar winner Emma Stone in it. Hey, Mom, you want to go to the movies?
No.
And then I could
Don't do
like,
that.
seriously, sitting in a movie theater with your mom, and all of a sudden, and like,
I had that talk with my dad of, hey, which Oscar movies do I need to go see? So I need you to be aware of what happens in Poor Things if you want to go see that. Because my dad's pretty conservative. And so it was did you see Call Me By Your Name? He goes, uh-huh. Go, you know how he did that with a peach? Uh-huh. Now, let's say if you had an apple. He goes,
Oh, no.
okay, we don't need to
nope,
talk anymore.
there are conversations we are not allowed to have.
Yep, where he was like, I'm good, and thank you for that information. I will not see it with your brother. It's like, thank you. Good
All
job.
right, what's next?
From Andy again, Ryan Gosling didn't just, can we scroll down just a smidge?
Oh.
Ryan Gosling didn't just nail it at the Oscars. He brought the Mojo Dojo Casa House down. He may not have won an Oscar, but he won the Oscars.
I mean, look, I actually saw like articles being written. I can't remember if it was Forbes. They wrote an article where the headline was, Ryan Gosling is too handsome to be a goofball, an adorable goofball. And like, oh no, a charming, adorable goofball. It's like, no, he can be both.
Yeah.
You know what? He doesn't do a lot. Like, I remember the first time I've been lucky enough to sit down and talk with Gosling on a couple of occasions. And he comes across as trying to be very professional. And so you don't get this sense of him being this guy that all of his co-stars, including Emma Stone, has talked many times about how she said it's actually hard to work with Ryan Gosling because he makes her laugh all the time. And I'm like, I don't see it. Like, I don't, because he tries to carry himself very professionally. But then last year at CinemaCon, when he came out on stage for Barbie, and it's like he just brought the house down. He had everybody in stitches. And then he came out again the next day at CinemaCon for Fall Guy, and again, just had everybody in stitches. It's like, is this really the real Gosling? And apparently this is the one that Emma Stone's been telling everybody about for like 12 years. All right, what's next?
From Bruce Wayne Brady. What a good name. Hey, John, the X in the Godzilla X Kong title is used in Japan when two franchises cross over or team up.
Somebody else wrote in and said the X means something else. Look, I will say this. You might be right. But if so, that's kind of a dumb thing to do on the second movie.
Because they already did it.
Yeah, they already did it. They've already been in a movie together. So
I guess
Well,
it reverses the, I don't know.
I was going to say, sometimes, too, you don't even say the X. Like, there's an anime that's Hunter x Hunter, but there's an X in it.
Right.
That I think is just there so that I look foolish. And I say, have you watched Hunter x Hunter? Is it good? And then people are like, fucking weeb.
By the way, Patrick Stewart gifted 10 John Campea Show memberships to our viewers. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Patrick.
Make it so.
All right. What's next?
From Bill's HQ. Hey, Chris. Hi. Were you ever able to see Dune 2? Wondering what your thoughts are because I know you weren't big on the first. You guys, I still haven't seen it.
What?
I know. I need to go see it.
You know what? Just watch it at home. I think that's where you're most comfortable watching it.
Probably. Yeah. It's so many hours. And
You're sounding a lot like me right now.
I'm
It's
team
shorter
right
than Killers of the Flower Moon.
Rubbing off on you.
Killers of the Flower Moon I did watch from home though while I was packing. Of just like, okay, I can start putting up my books and doing all this stuff and watch this movie.
What is it, 242?
Yeah.
Is that the right side? Yeah, 242.
It was longer.
It's
I paused. I went to the bathroom.
horrible.
I did all of those things.
Oh my God, Patrick also just gifted another 20 memberships to people.
Patrick,
oh my
thank you.
goodness.
Oh my gosh. I promise I will see it. I've also just been trying to make sure that I'm keeping up with Shogun, Abbott Elementary, all the other shows that are coming out, but I will see it. I saw everything that was nominated. I'm trying, you guys. I'm trying to have that work-life balance, and it's not happening.
Yeah, she says she's trying, but I don't think
I know. I'm in the process of moving, y'all. It's
Oh my God!
It's a
Here
lot.
we go.
Listen,
Going in
my
the back
life is
pocket.
hard.
Wow,
Life
Rick.
is hard, Ray.
You know
Going
what?
into
Here's
the
your
back
Academy
pocket.
Award. Here you go.
For best whining.
Yeah.
For best
It's full of wine,
excuses.
actually. Too,
All right, let's
ironically.
keep going here. What's next?
From Amos Hines. I've heard rumors about Hugh Jackman and Tobey Maguire leading Secret Wars.
Those are by rumors you mean made up bullshit.
If
Anyway,
Marvel goes this route, do you think they're admitting defeat as far as establishing new characters? Bring on the filthy.
well, no, it wouldn't be. Not at all. Like, look, you can have a lot of ingredients in a cake, right? So that's fine. That could be one element. But yeah, those rumors are made up bullshit. So don't even worry about it. Don't even get the time of day. All right, what's next?
From Christopher Brickner. 1995 to 2005, LucasArts made a dozen prequel tie-in games. Most were good or became fan favorites with varieties like FPS, Starfighter games, action-adventure games, etc. I wish the sequels had games like that.
But the game's still got to be good. I mean, that's the problem, right? The games still have to be good. I think a friend of mine was a director at LucasArts during that time period. Look, a lot of the Star Wars games that were made in that era were very forgettable. There are some that were really awesome. I mean, it's going back prior to that. Again, like X-Wing and TIE Fighter are like some of my all-time favorite games.
I love those.
Like all-time favorite games. It would be great to see a return to them making great games again. And by the way, I thought Battlefield 2 was actually pretty good. I didn't like the first one, but I thought the second one was pretty good. But anyway, all right, what's next?
We're going to our members now. From Matt says hello. Could the studio accidentally release some footage of Coyote versus Acme in the same way Deadpool did to boost interest?
No, because boost interest in who and in what. Like showing it to some people in the public, that's not going to make somebody else bid on it.
Deadpool was doing that, right? Deadpool was doing that to sell it, to get it sold, right? Basically.
Well, to get it greenlit.
To get greenlit. That's what I mean.
Like that movie hadn't been made. This is a movie that's been
But
made.
this would be the studio trying to greenlight their own movie. They wouldn't have to do that.
It's a totally different situation. One was them just trying to get a movie made, so
Yeah.
they put out some leaked test footage, and then this one is a movie that's already done. And they've already given the movie to these studios. Like they're not asking studios to bid on it without letting the other studios see the movie. So there would be no upside to it, unfortunately. All right, what's next?
From Alan Sifka Moran. Hi, Campea crew. What are your thoughts on the Inside Out 2 trailer? I love the first one, but I'm kind of nervous for this one. I'm hoping for the best.
I still haven't seen the second trailer.
Me either.
I totally forgot there was a second trailer till you just mentioned it. Now, I thought the first one was just lovely and charming, and it brought back all the feels that I had watching the first movie. But I haven't seen the second trailer yet, so I don't know. But I am not worried in the least. I'll be honest with you, I am not worried in the least. The last couple of Pixar films have been dynamite. Again, The Elemental was such a wonderful movie. They've been killing it again lately, so I really have no reason to have any fear whatsoever. All right, what's next?
From Allison Cat 100. Hi, John. Big fan.
Thank you.
I've heard you mention Darth Vader is the best on-screen villain. Besides
Absolutely.
the story of the original Star Wars, would you still consider him a better on-screen villain than Heath Ledger's Joker? And why?
Yeah, because he's better. Way more
Boom.
iconic. It's just, he is, like today, a lot of people today have not seen Heath Ledger's Joker. That may sound weird. But the impact that Darth Vader changed cinema. He just changed cinema. That character, he became kind of the template of everything that makes an awesome on-screen villain. And everybody today knows exactly who and what that is. I mean, there's just, Michael puts it good. Darth Vader completely conquered pop culture, and not just for when Star Wars was out, but for generations. That helmet and then the sound is legendarily iconic and forever a part of our pop culture. It's just not even close. By the way, Patrick Stewart just put in another, got some more people, some memberships. Awesome, man.
Patrick
Thank
Stewart.
you, dude. I think we had like 50 or 60 new members today.
81.
81 new members today.
Dang.
All right, what's next?
From Jamie Martin. Do you think with now Mario 2, Frozen 3, Toy Story 5, and potentially Beyond the Spider-Verse, and maybe Shrek 5, we could see 2026 being one of the biggest box office years for animation? At least a couple of these are definitely making $1 billion.
Frozen 3 will make $1 billion. I don't know about Toy Story 5 because I don't think Toy Story 4 made $1 billion. Ray, can you double check that? I know Toy Story 3 did. I just can't remember Toy Story 5. Yeah. I mean, if all those, I don't have a calendar in front of me, but if you are correct and all of those would be coming out in the same year, I have.
Toy Story did make $1 billion.
The Toy Story 4 did make $1 billion.
$1 billion.
Fabulous.
73.
Then maybe that will be too. But yeah, if you are correct, and I don't know that you are, but if you are, that will be the biggest box office year in animation history. Yeah, easily, just from Toy Story and Frozen coming out. All right, what's next?
From Daniel, hey John, just watched Poor Things. Emma Stone played her role amazingly well-deserved Oscar.
Yeah, look, it was one of those things where Lily Gladstone and Emma Stone were both so good that I had no issue. If Lily Gladstone's name got read and she got up there, I would say well-deserved. That being said, if I were an Oscar voter, I probably would have cast my ballot for Emma Stone. I just think number one, she truly was the definitive main character of the movie. But that aside, I thought her performance was just by the slightest hair a little bit elevated over Lily's. I mean, but look, it was Lily and Emma up here, and then everybody else who was nominated was down here. Like it was Lily and Emma's race all the way. I would have had no problem if Lily won, but I kind of feel like the right person won in this one. But again, I would have had no complaints at all if Lily had won it. All right, what's next?
From Ulatan, before Daniel Day-Lewis, who was the GOAT of acting? Who set the standard?
That's a really good question. I mean, you start talking about which era do you look at for that. I mean, look, acting is like professional sports too. It's like it evolves, right? When you look at acting in the 1950s, it was done differently. Like performances in movies back then were just done differently. And when you watch basketball in the 1960s, it was played differently. It evolves and hopefully gets better and better. Like athletes today can now run faster, jump higher, shoot more accurately because they build on what came before them. I think acting is the same way. So it's always kind of weird when you talk about, eras and generations and stuff like too. So I usually don't go for the more older classic era movie actors because I think acting has evolved. So you're looking at Robert De Niro's and Al Pacino's, and Peter O'Toole was one of my all-time favorite actors. I love Peter O'Toole so much. He was a guy who was acting in a modern style 3 decades ago, So I thought he was. So I don't know off the top of my head who I would think was the GOAT until Daniel Day-Lewis.
Because you're comparing a lot
came
of character actors,
Yeah.
so it's like
Yeah.
Well, even if you look at something iconic like, Marlon Brando in Streetcar Named Desire, that's the kind of performance nowadays that if you did something similar in your self-tape, people would be telling you do less.
Yeah. Reel it in a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because different eras, different things. But
Even though that performance is.
that is a great question. All right, what's next?
From Reviewed by Nick, Scream 7 is happening with Nev Campbell returning and will be directed by the creator of Dawson's Creek, Kevin Williamson.
Oh, Nev Campbell is coming back. Well, I guess that's
to be over.
Thank you, Chris.
that
proud.
was who sang that again? She's the same girl who sang Where Have All the Cowboys Gone?
Oh boy.
Oh, that was Natalie. Was that Natalie Merchant? No, Natalie Merchant. Oh God.
Why am I freezing on her name? Irish girl, Paula Cole. Paula Cole.
I don't know
Paula
who sang
Cole,
it.
that household name.
The reason Paula Cole, that sounds to me a lot, is one of my, if not my all-time favorite concert video. Me and my buddies, because all my buddies were musicians, and a bunch of years ago, Peter Gabriel had a concert movie put out called The Secret World Tour, and his lone backup singer was Paula Cole. And watching Peter Gabriel and Paula Cole and like Tony Levin, who might be like the greatest bass player of all time. And sorry, I geek out a little bit over musicians. But like, it was just like one of the most incredible concert videos I'd ever seen. And Paula Cole was his vocalist on that and was absolutely fantastic. Anyway. All right. Yeah. Charles Andre says the In Your Eyes performance, Paula Cole singing In Your Eyes with Peter Gabriel is awesome. It's so good. Okay. Anyway. What's next?
From Culture Healers, Forbes is reporting that Netflix is planning another rate hike just because they can. Does this make sense at a time when the economy is hitting everyone, or is this just something that we should expect? What's to stop others from following suit?
Nothing. They will.
They will.
Look, here's an unfortunate truth. We talked about this a little bit the other day. Streaming services aren't making money. So two different things are going to happen. That's why we tell you all the time, this is not the end of the price hikes. I mean, and I admit I'm a part of this too. Here's what we as consumers want. We want these streaming services to make the best mind-blowing spectacle content ever. And we want to pay 50 cents a month for it. Like we want $300 million spectacle projects and we want to pay 50 cents a month. That's what we want. That's what I want. But the reality is, and I remember we did an entire video on this, on the actual economics of running a streaming service. Like it's in the umpteen billions of dollars just to run the service, let alone all the content they create and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, Netflix it took them 15 years to start turning a profit. That's weird to think about, right? It took them 15 years to start turning a profit, give or take a year. And most of the streaming services, they still don't make money. They're still lose money. And so the prices are going to go up. They're going to continue to go up, and you're going to start seeing sign-up fees, and you're probably going to see a credit system, and you're probably going to start getting more tiers, and the reality is we want something that costs a lot of money, but we don't want to spend a lot of money to get it. And that's fair. That's what we want. Like, we want the Lamborghini, but we want to pay the Toyota Corolla price. And it's, listen, honestly, I see within a couple of years, like $30 a month for one of the streaming services. Like I think that's coming real quick. And we're going to have to start making decisions. We've been talking about this for a year or two, right? We as consumers are going to have to start making decisions. Right now, I have every streaming service this is. But at some point, I and many of you, we're going to have to start making decisions about, okay, which streaming service are we okay to have and which ones can we live without? And FOMO is a huge thing. Like, I would hate to think if I didn't have Hulu right now, because I wouldn't be watching Shogun. And, it's just, anyway. All right.
Everything's going up. Also, a lot of people who watch this show are trying to start acting and working in this industry. Casting Networks just sent out an email today saying that they're going to start charging $300 a year for you to submit to jobs. So
now,
everything's increasing. Check all your subscriptions, you guys.
I see a couple people in the live chat saying, I'll never pay $30 a month for a streaming service.
Yes, you will.
Okay. Yes, you will. Because I remember when Netflix and stuff like that was like $7 a month. If you had said, you know what, in a year or two, it's going to be $17 a month. And people would have said, no, I'll never pay that much for it. Guess what? Yes, you will. I mean, we want them to have this service that's this multi-billion-dollar thing, creating all this content and giving us this programming, and we want to have access to all of it. Well, if we want them to do that, we're going to have to pay for it.
I guess it just depends on where everyone's at financially.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to start making choices about what we will and won't watch.
Make a choice.
You know where sometimes you go into your like credit card or whatever, and it asks you for your household income. It's going to start asking how many streaming services.
How many streaming services you currently have?
They're just like, no, you can't be approved.
It's yeah. All right. What's next?
From Amin, the Oscars should go on streaming. No one really watches or wants to watch network television anymore. The ratings would be so much higher if it was on streaming. SAG was on Netflix. They should easily be able to put it on Disney+, at least outside the U.S.
But then everyone has to have Disney+.
I will say that shows like the Oscar, I finally get that feeling that everyone's watching together.
Yeah.
That we don't get from streaming services. I think we need to save some of those.
Yeah.
I really do.
Well, I don't think it has to be an either or. I think it'd be a both and, right? So like have it on ABC and at the same time have it streaming on Hulu.
Right.
Right. So I think you can do both and listen, like you can say, I don't think anybody watches, right? Well, the Oscars just had a 4-year high ratings in the third year in a row of the ratings going up.
Exactly.
So
that's the thing.
And the highest viewed broadcast of the year. I mean, so clearly people are still, but I agree. I think it was a very odd choice not to have it on cable and on a streaming service at the same time. Like next year, like Super Bowl is going to be streaming and on broadcast television. I honestly think the Oscars next year will also be on streaming. Like not exclusively, it'll be it'll primarily be a cable broadcast, but it will also be carried on a streamer, I think.
They may even run a deal where it's like you can log into Hulu for free for the Oscars.
I don't think they'll do that.
Then, just to entice people to sign up.
No, they'll want money. They'll want money, but they'll do something. They'll do something.
Well, it'd be ads.
Start
It would
your
be
free
with
trial.
ads.
Yeah.
It would be with ads. But yeah.
All right, what's next?
Oh, from Dragon2067. How involved do you think Deadpool will be in future Marvel movies? Would love to see his language bleep and have him ask if anyone else hears that.
So my guess for a long time has been not very involved. Like there are some people who think this next Deadpool movie is going to be the last Ryan Reynolds Deadpool movie. I don't agree with that.
That's what I think. I don't know why.
Because I don't think Disney's going to go through all this just to get one movie. So I think but I don't honestly think we're going to see Deadpool involved in the MCU as a whole or in large on a very big scale. Because you're going to run into problems. There are things you can do with Deadpool in a Deadpool movie that's rated R that you can't do in your more popular Marvel films. You can't have him in a PG-13 movie unless you completely neuter the character, and that's not going to make anybody happy, right? Deadpool fans won't be happy seeing Deadpool in a PG-13 movie unless he can be Deadpool, and he can't be Deadpool. So I think he will still be around, but I honestly don't think he's going to be. And this, by the way, I got no insider information on this. This is just me purely speculating as a fan. I don't think he's going to be terribly involved in it. All right, what's next?
From Wesley Cunningham, the logic for stunts not having a category makes sense. Similar reason for mocap. Maybe add them together and have a nice stunts and motion capture honorary reel, a regular part of the show.
So we were talking about this yesterday, but Chris, so like there have been for a number of years a lot of people calling for a stunt category at the Academy Awards, and it's just not possible. You just can't do it. You cannot do it on any legitimate level. It's just, all Oscar voters have to be able to vote on something that they just sit at home and watch. Like, an Oscar voter would have no idea what went into a stunt on set. And today, it's even worse because an average Oscar voter will have no idea if they're looking at a CGI special effect or if they're looking at a stunt.
Yeah,
they simply just won't know.
I literally thought the same thing, specifically with the last Mission Impossible, that train scene, right?
Yes.
That's not practical. They're not, and I don't mean
it was all green screen.
I don't mean it dangerous, but yeah, it literally was a blue screen. The inside of the car, where he's hanging onto the seats.
He's still hanging though. That's stunty.
No, dude, that's. Blue.
I mean, he did actually drive off a cliff. I mean, that happened, but like the train scene wasn't really a stunt. Yeah. And
I was just going to say, some people in the chat have said in the past too, show kind of like what they do at the actual award ceremony of that layering of all of that to make your decision. That's a lot to do for a presentation for every Academy voter.
But that's special effects.
Then you're giving out an Oscar to who put together the best presentation.
Yeah.
Right? It's not actually for the thing. So what they did this year, I thought was great when they actually took a moment and made a segment of the show honoring stunt people. And I think they should do that every year to make sure that the stunt people and the stunt community gets honored every year at the Oscars. But listen, guys, if they could legitimately make a stunt category, I think they would have done it by now. And I just don't. And I think it's going to be even harder and harder moving forward to do it. I just don't think there's any real way to do it. All right. Let's take 2 more questions and we'll call it a day.
All right.
Pick good ones.
Can I mention something real quick? They did seem to have paused the casting award that when they announced that they're going to be doing that.
Because
a lot of them
that's
seem to be on board.
100%, because that's something you can literally just see and make a determination. You can see if a particular ensemble cast was perfectly cast, worked really well together. They can see that and make that judgment. And I think that is overdue as well. I think having a casting category is really good because SAG has had like ensemble awards and stuff like that. I think it's a great idea. All right, last question of the day.
Oh, sorry. I took one
Ray,
of the
Ray got one.
Ray.
I'm sorry.
From Shamester. Have you noticed that every time Emma Stone wins an Oscar, there's some sort of confusion with the Best Picture winner? I'm starting to see a pattern.
That's right. It was the year of La La Land. When she went Tora, sending in another 5 gifted memberships to people.
Dang,
Tora is
Tor.
on a tear
Please
today.
do one more question. I'm feeling bad right now.
Well, I just deleted the questions, so we can't.
Oh.
It was called the Ray delete button. And look, there was no confusion about this year. So I get right. It's just the way it was presented. It was a very awkward thing with Al Pacino, right? Like there was no confusion. He didn't say the wrong name of the movie.
It was just that pause where he's like, I'm seeing Oppenheimer.
I'm seeing Oppenheimer.
Like it was a question.
Yeah.
And- yeah.
I thought he was going to break into song.
Like if he had stopped, if he had done this, if he had like stopped and said, and I'm seeing Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Like if he had done it like that, it would have been fine. But it's like nobody in the audience was sure did he actually just say the name of the winner?
maybe
It was
he
It was,
Sure.
so, it was so low energy. It was just like,
Yeah, it
okay,
was-
let me look in this envelope.
Like it
Oppenheimer.
wasn't a
Can I go
train
home now?
wreck.
I'm done.
Big deal.
Like it
Oppenheimer.
wasn't. It wasn't a La La Land situation. It wasn't
Yeah.
a train wreck.
It was, yeah.
It was a little weird. It was,
a little
just a little
moment.
awkward.
It was
That's
a
all.
glitch.
Yeah, a little awkward. All right, guys. And that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here and making today's show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in those questions and who gifted memberships. Number one, for giving us great fun things to talk about. And number two, you supported our channel by doing it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. Don't forget to come on back and join us again tomorrow. By the way, tomorrow there is a town hall meeting for our channel members. We do this every once in a while, and we got a whole bunch of new channel members here, so maybe you can come by tomorrow afternoon and join us for our members-only channel members meeting.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys then. For everybody in the room, Ray Ora,
Question robber, baby.
question, Jonathan Voico.
Hey, also, I just want to thank, and I know I can't bring it up, but Patrick Stewart just gifted 50 Campea memberships.
Thank you so much, Patrick.
Emojis.
And of course, wants all those people to come to our town hall meeting tomorrow, and Chris Carr.
Bye, guys.
My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends. By the way, do you got that poster?
Oh, yeah, the
Oh.
poster. Oh, Jonathan had it on.
Right there.
Ah!
I love it.
How great is this? This poster Ray
you
just
go.
made out of nowhere.
There you go. Since it didn't win anything.
Next year's Academy Award winner. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends. Bye-bye.